Call to order, council meeting, September 6th. Roll call.
Mrs. Brew?
Here.
Mr. Babalani?
Here.
Dr. Hayes? Mr. Menegini?
Here.
Mr. Pop?
Here.
Need a motion to excuse Dr. Hayes.
I make that motion.
Support.
Mr. Babalani?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Approval of minutes of the regular meeting of August 15th. Any comments, questions?
I make a motion, we approve the regular meeting notes for August 15, 2016.
Support.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Babalani?
Yes.
Approval of manifest 2016-16 in the amount of $1,053,000. I'd just like to make a comment why it's so much, because we've had to pay out, I believe it's a little over $640,000 to other taxing units to the county and to the school. Any questions? Mr. Pop?
I have none.
I have one on page 7. Transmission distribution, GoTech camera install with install materials.
Yeah, there was a temporary camera or a camera that we're putting up out at the wastewater that is not part of that system you're going to talk about tonight.
So that was one of my questions. I guess I can ask you later if you want, but I was just going to ask, do we have existing cameras right now?
No, we don't have any camera system right now. That's something that's coming up on this agenda, but there was an internal camera that he needed to have, and it's not tied into this system.
Where is it, inside the plant or is it outside the plant?
It's actually inside the plant. It's oh, there. Did you work with that one at all?
I put both cameras in, yeah. They're in, it's a big machine that runs stuff in one of the buildings. I don't know what the building is called, but
What, the sludge press?
that would be it.
Okay.
They're both in there, a few days in the press.
Yeah, it's a standalone. I wanted to.
So we do have existing cameras, just not in the system we're going to.
Not in the system overhead. But we have existing cameras. We're upgrading the cameras we had down at the hydro through our new system, and then he put in these two. They're a lesser grade camera than what we're going to be putting in the system, but he wanted to have that in place in the sludge press.
Why wasn't, I know it's not in the same system, but it is part of the camera overall. Why wasn't it added into the?
I believe it was timing. We weren't quite sure when this was coming, and he had those ordered. I think they did it a couple months ago, didn't they?
It was a couple months at this point.
Yeah.
So would these ones have to be replaced?
No, these would just stay operating for Bob.
That was the only question I had.
Mark?
I got a question on page 5, Lee, down towards the bottom in the electric, Joe Pickard partial refund, employee contribution, 327. He has been gone for quite a while. What would that be?
Well, that's a rollover. Isn't that a rollover from his 457 account?
No, that was his final payout check, which was in January. MERS went back and did some recalculating and determined that the city had paid in too much and Joe had paid in too much based on the numbers that qualified on his final payout.
Okay.
So they gave the city their refund, plus they gave us his refund, but that was out of his check, so we refunded it to him.
Refunded to him, okay. On page 1, Lee, about 3 from the bottom of the administration, UP Security rekeying a desk. Did we take a desk from somewhere else and bring it over here to rekey it and use it in this area, or, I mean?
That was, I believe, in your office, wasn't it, for,
That was the safety gentleman, the,
UP Security.
yeah. That first office, there's a desk in there and the doors were all locked and we couldn't get in.
Oh, okay.
So he came and rekeyed it.
oh, is that what the, okay.
Okay. That's all I have, Lee.
Okay, I don't have any questions, just a couple of comments, general information. We paid out $44,398 for the Michigan Employment Retirement System, and we also forked out $24,765 for insurance, just to let you know where a little of your money is going. And kind of a question here, I see our third quarter came in, split up through all the departments for the safety management program, which come to $5,700. I would like a little report on the incident we had here a couple of weeks ago, Ray. I'd like to
Okay.
see the write-up on that safety issue.
Okay.
That's all I have. Okay, we need a motion to approve the manifest 2016-16 in an amount of $1,053,169.12.
I'll make the motion.
Support.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Babalani?
Yes.
Mr. Menigini?
Yes. Okay, anyone wishing to address the council on any agenda item shall come up to the podium and do so. State your name and address for the record. Comments shall be limited to 5 minutes per person. There will be time at the end of the meeting where you can come up and talk about anything you want. Okay. Appointments and presentations. Ray, you want to take that?
Sure. We have for you this evening presentation by the Friends of Norway. The Friends of Norway was created as a separate 501c3 out of the planning for the Quasqui Centennial celebration we had this past summer. Daryl, are you available to? Daryl is the president or chair of the Friends of Norway, and he has a presentation.
Yes, Daryl Harder, 615th Avenue, and I'm also the president of the Friends of Norway. I would like to say thank you very much to the city for all they did for us for the event. It was a lot of work, a lot of committees, a lot of volunteers, and I'd like to thank the Friends of Norway Board for all they did. And the volunteers were just tremendous. It was an event that was very, very good. Everybody was happy. Also like to thank all of our sponsors, all the sponsors that helped us out through this whole event. And finally, like to thank all of the people that attended. To support the city's birthday, the Quasqui Centennial, it was well attended by everybody in the area. I didn't hear any bad complaints about it. Everybody seemed to have a good time. They enjoyed themselves. And we're all very happy that it turned out the way it did. And after everything was done, we would like to present the city with a donation of $50,000.
Ray? Okay. Thank you. Any comments from the council members?
I'd like to thank everybody who volunteered and supported the community fest.
It was a great atmosphere out there. You guys did an awesome job. The community really stepped it up, and you guys stepped it up. It was a great party.
I appreciate all the work that went into it and all the volunteers. It was a great thing for Norway. It was a great 125, and I appreciate you donating that to the city.
Thank you.
And once again, I'd like to thank everybody on the committee, all the sponsors, all the people that were involved, and it was the best birthday party I ever went to.
Thank you.
Okay, we've got quite a few items here under communications tonight. First one, Marion Park Tennis Court Project, pay request number 1.
Okay, yeah, this is the first pay request that we received from the contractor. It's for $69,939.90. It does include the 5% retainage. At this point, give a brief update. The fencing's in, and now there's just a couple more weeks where they have to wait before they can apply the surface coat. They have to wait a certain amount of time from the time the asphalt is put down for it to cure. So that's what the little bit of delay here is. We did have that accounted for in the schedule, so everything looks like to be right on task.
I've got one question, Ray. We have inspected the project and find this work and the payment request is in order. Who's involved in this inspection besides you? Just you and Mr. Ball, or
And Coleman Engineering.
and Coleman
Yep.
Engineering involved? Okay.
Working with the engineering firm.
Now, as we get further with the weather, changing, is that gonna affect the sealant that we're gonna put on there?
At this point, September, still from a temperature standpoint, is very favorable. Moisture would be the biggest concern. So we have to go day from day, as you can kind of see now. We're getting into the fall weather patterns. So I do believe that they'll be able to, to work through that.
Hopefully they decide to seal it before the leaves start coming off the trees.
Yeah. The one advantage we have out there is that it's either pine trees or the limited oaks we have left, and oaks hold on pretty long. So it's in a pretty open area.
Need a motion to approve.
I make a motion, we approve the pay request, payment number 1 for the Marion Park Tennis Court project not to exceed $69,939.90.
Support.
Mr. Babalani?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Next item, 14th Avenue Storm Water Project. Ray?
We've bantered this around now for a couple of years, and this past year, again, we brought it back to council for consideration, especially considering the bids that we received for our local road project. We have a washout problem, I think we know, in the area by Lakeview and off of 14th Avenue, or Lakeside off of 14th Avenue. One of the things we did change up, we bid the project last fall, and our bids came in quite a bit over budget, so we tabled that, that bid. We came back this past month, and we did a labor only, and so what I gave you is we bid out the labor. Scott Moran is low for the labor and equipment at $34,950. Our material quote for direct purchase material is $20,983.53. With the $8,000 remaining in engineering, that brings us to $64,010 for the project. So last year we budgeted $50,000. Again, as I mentioned, we're quite a bit under our local road paving, and so it's our recommendation that we need to get this fixed up and take care of the washout problems that we have on Lakeside. So I request that we use a portion of that $82,000 that's left over from the original budget for the local street. But I'm open for the
If
council.
I remember correctly, the last estimate on that was quite a bit more than this $64,000. That's why
109.
Yeah, there was some paving in that, but that's, yeah, it was at 100, it came in at 109, and there was some paving on that, but it was still north of that number.
Which budget did you say you're gonna take that out of?
Well, we had budgeted 500,000 for local street, for
Right.
local road paving, $25,000 of that would be used for the engineering on that project, so that was $475,000. And our bids came in at $393. So we had $82,000
Is
under
that gonna
budget.
keep us under the, 500,000 mark?
Yes.
But not the other things that Doc Hayes had requested to look at, right?
No, and I did put that in this report.
Yeah,
He asked to see what it would cost to continue on 60, well, actually, it's a scenic, to finish that project out, and I gave you that number. We wouldn't be able to do both
no, that's what I was thinking.
unless you appropriated more money.
That's what I was wondering.
But we would still, the project that we were gonna do from the top of Norway Hill over 16th
Yes,
Avenue,
that's
would
still-
that would all be in there still?
That's
Just that
all in
little
there.
jog to scenic?
So we'd have to decide between this storm sewer installation or the extra, going the extra on the.
Yeah, he wanted to look at going all the way to the spring, to take that project all the way to the spring.
But I thought we talked about that in budget, and that was,
Some kind of grants or something, wasn't it?
Oh,
We were gonna
quite
see what we
high
could
and-
do for,
Yeah, we were looking at having that reclassified under federal aid.
yeah,
Yeah,
That's
which
I
is
thought.
what,
Why we
that's what the
didn't-
Emerald and Kingsford thing, right?
right. He requested I have that number, for the evaluation again. So that's why I provided it for you.
what was that number? I
Well,
don't
yes,
remember what
what
that
I was
number
just gonna
was.
ask, what was that number?
104,000.
So we'd be just a little over the 5,000 if we did that project.
Yeah.
But you did say this 14th Avenue has been a problem for a long time.
This one has been a problem for a long time.
Every rain, and maybe even today, every heavy rainstorm we've had, you go up there and that whole hillside is just it's a mess. And this has been going on for years and years. And the people involved in it, to me, have been very patient. I don't think I could have been impatient as they've been.
Now, is there something we can do with that road that's going up to the towers up there? Isn't that a lot of rains coming down from there? And coming across the road? Are we gonna try and change the route up there?
That's 16th.
Oh, that's what I was 16, yep.
You mean
16?
that little storm?
Oh,
sewer
you're
Yeah,
talking
yeah.
about,
Yeah.
yeah,
Tower
yeah,
Road.
we're gonna work on that storm. Yeah.
I would like to see us do this project here and then put in for that grant money and see how it goes. And, maybe we could, even though we're gonna have the major street project and projects going on down here next year, maybe we can look at it then. If we don't receive the money, then I guess
Yeah, you
we're
can
gonna have to
evaluate.
deal with it. But I'm with Lee. I think that this has been a thorn in the city's side for a long time.
And I know this is something we had looked at during the budget hearing too, so I think I have to agree. I think we have to address 14th Avenue before we look at the rest of 16th and Scenic Drive.
Well, the rest we can keep on the burner. We'll just keep an eye on it. Somebody want to make a motion?
I make a motion to approve the 14th Avenue storm sewer installation.
Not to exceed the 64,000.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll support it.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes,
Mrs. Brew?
Yes,
Mr. Babalani?
Yes.
Okay, next item, networking support for the City of Norway security camera system.
Okay, yeah, we've been talking about, for the last couple of years, about putting a security camera system in place. We've had vandalism at a number of our parks, some of our utility facilities, and what I did when I looked at the specs for putting the camera system together, we actually, by breaking it into two components, there's a network component and then there's a camera system itself. By doing that, I think we maximize the number of companies that potentially could have bid on the project, because they were two separate disciplines, and some more companies could probably bid on the camera part of the project than working on the networking side. So that allowed for more, I'd say access to contractors. So we put those two different bid packages out. They were out at the same time, and we received those bids last week. We'll do the networking package first. That particular package actually had, let's see, we had GoTech put in the lowest price of $8,454.25. We also had Tri-County Lock and UP Security put in, but GoTech had the lowest responsive price. So we're recommending to go with GoTech.
The second one, the security cameras themselves, what was that price, Ray? And that's the next resolution, I realize that.
Yes. Just gonna have to flip to that thing.
Was that the 18,000?
Yeah, that was the
18,000.
Yeah, we had budgeted 30,000 in total, and so, we're gonna be under that budget.
And we do have some cameras in place right now. How many cameras do we have in place?
Well, I'm not so sure that the ones that we have at the hydro, are gonna be able to be put into the system. They were put in place a number of years ago, and, we've had some issues with them. So that's why we added the hydro to this system. If we can reuse those, we'll reuse those cameras. What I did was I bid it out separate, and if we can knock camera 2 off, it's a unit pricing basis.
But, I mean, how many cameras do we have now?
I think we only have 2 down at the hydro.
What about overall?
I think we have the 2 at the hydro. We don't have any cameras anywhere else.
And then we have the 2 at the sludge down at.
Yeah, those just put in.
Okay.
I guess I would like to see us, I know we got 2 separate resolutions, one for the cameras, one for the networking. It totals out to be $26,556. I don't think we should spend that kind of money on cameras right now. If we had extra money, I think we should do a few more asphalting projects like the one Doc was suggesting. I know that's quite a bit more than what we're saving here, but I don't think we should do the cameras. I think it's too much money, and we've made it a long time without it. I know we've had a little bit of vandalism here and there, but I think it's a waste of money at this point for us right now. Money we don't have.
When I looked at the bid too, I know that we talked about cameras, but I didn't realize that it was gonna cost that much and that we needed that many cameras. So at this time, I'm not sure if we should spend that kind of money, and I disagree with Mark. I mean, he says put it towards roads or whatever. I just think we gotta start saving.
We gotta start saving it,
Well-
but if we did anything.
We do have that $30,000 appropriated, so we talked about it in the budget hearings. I didn't have the number of cameras in the, when we went through budget hearing, but we did estimate how much we could afford and it would cost. So we did look at it at that time. You do need to have the hydro cameras. I mean, that's a FERC requirement. So if we don't go forward with this, we'll have to do something with them separately. That's part of our security plan and security requirement at the hydro.
So they're not approving the ones that are there right now?
No.
So we still have to, and I don't have a problem with some of these cameras, I just want you to know that. I just think some of the places, I don't know if we really need cameras there, or as many as what are put there.
Do we have to do the,
We did talk about it.
do
though,
we
with
have to do the
compost site.
networking? Do we have to do the networking, or can we just change the cameras themselves at the hydro to get it in compliance with the FERC?
Well, we're gonna have to have a standalone system down there then. Because what the networking does is it allows us to put, to build on it with additional cameras or changing locations of cameras. If we just have the system at the hydro, then that's specific to that.
Will the system, if we update just the cameras themselves, is that gonna make us in compliance with the FERC permit?
Well, sure, if we upgrade the cameras down at the hydro, then we're in compliance.
Okay, that's what I think we should look at, a separate order to just update the cameras at the hydro.
I do have a question though. In previous meetings, we talked about the compost site, and we talked about putting cameras out there so we could avoid an attendant.
I
So-
check the compost site on a regular basis, and I don't see any problem with the compost site over there without camera and without an attendant.
Okay. Well, I'm just following back on to
Okay,
previous
sure.
discussion, so.
Well, I know it's a lot of money and it was budgeted, but I believe we have to have these cameras. Because there has been vandalism at, I think City Hall's the only place we actually haven't had any vandalism, and
Did we have any
maybe on a
vandalism
DDA corner down there.
down at Marion Park this past summer?
Oh, yeah. Yep. Just 2 weeks ago, we had to replace a urinal in the little bathroom. Somebody, in their infinite wisdom, kicked the urinal off the wall.
Do we have a camera down at Strawberry Lake, or didn't
Nope.
we at one time? No,
Nope.
we never
We've
have.
had, we don't even have I don't believe they replaced the drinking fountain, did they?
No.
That's been totally tore off. We had to replace the meter down there off the building, because that was totally destroyed. Now we have like a bear contraption around it, so they can't kick that in.
Wasn't there a camera inside and then it was moved to the outside, like over the sink area?
That was a sign that we put up because the bathroom was getting damaged so much, we put the sign up. It helped for a little while, but that was about it. I mean, it's amazing what people do.
What would the life expectancy on this system be?
Well, the networking part of it has a longer life expectancy. The cameras themselves, I don't know, Jim, do you have an idea what kind of a,
We're always neat with the cameras so far. They do pretty good outside. They last a good while. 10 hours to get that answer. But yeah, the networking lasts quite a bit longer, but the cameras are still pretty good.
they have casings, I know that they have casings.
They're
And
all waterproof and meant to be outside, so in a lot of places we get them at under stuff, so they'll keep them more protected.
How are you guys so much cheaper than UP Security? I mean, you're talking $100,000.
Can't answer that. I didn't see
Are these generic cameras out you're bidding on, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's all kind of the same system and built on itself, so yeah, I don't know what they quoted for the other stuff, but
I mean, I just look at that and that worries me that we're getting generic cameras or something that,
That's what's made this such a difficult effort, and it's taken 2-3 years just to get to this point, is that, you know, I've talked to many different companies, and they all have their own solution, and it's hard to, you know, come up with an apples to apples evaluation, because their solutions, some of the solutions had monthly charges to it, and that was a no-go. So we, you know, put together the spec so that they bid off the same thing, and I don't know if they added something to, you know, to what we, you know, what we had with minimum specs, maybe they just added to the spec.
Are they all different kinds of cameras? Did you?
We were very specific on the
What kind of
minimum
camera?
spec for the camera. It's not a highly sophisticated camera, it has a good resolution, you know, that we could prosecute off of, but it's not a PTZ, which is a point, tilt, and zoom. It's just a basic camera.
Well, you know, you gotta look at it too, Ray. Now we can patrol, right, out at Marion Park. Before we could not. It wasn't in our area. So now with that annexed in, we have control of the patrolling out there, right?
Yes, we patrol Marion Park.
But I mean, the years before we couldn't.
Right.
So I mean, I just think that, you know, we got a full-time police force and there's no reason why instead of sitting over at Citgo sometime, they could be taking some of these other areas and going through and patrolling a little more. They do a good job, but I
but
think
they're
we could
patrolling
patrol a
and it
little
still
bit more.
happened a couple weeks ago. I'd like to see cameras, but I don't know if I want to spend this much money. This is a lot of money for the system.
I agree with you, Scott, but looking at the bids, I mean, that one
Yeah,
bid, I don't know how they could come up with that kind of figure, but that second bid, you're within $6,000.
Yeah.
You know,
And I agree, I think we need some cameras in some of the spots, I just think some of them, no.
Well, what we could do is put in place a networking component and then just put the cameras in and build off of that.
would there be much of a difference in cost?
Sure.
I mean, like, say next year we get one camera, and then the following year another camera, whatever it might be, would that affect the cost of that?
Yeah, and I put, actually what I did was,
That's what it is on this next page, you're showing you, like the sixth camera is $800, the first one, is that what that is?
what you're seeing there is the networking side.
Oh,
So we broke
okay.
it down into areas, unit price for areas. So if we took a whole area out, then it would come off of that. On the next quote, it shows the actual camera side, which has a larger bid tab, but again, you could do the same thing. I mean, I can, you know, we can, like for the corner park, you know, the DDA is going to contribute towards that, because they, you know, they're gonna do some work down there, they don't want that vandalized. You put the
Yeah.
statue down there, it's gonna get vandalized. You know, so if they wanna have a system, they wanna put the cameras in place, you know, for that.
How much are they gonna give us towards that, do you know?
Well, I believe, I'm gonna ask them for the cost for the park, you know, for that park. You know, and then just like the electric, you know, they pay for the hydro, because that's part of the hydro system. You know, so it is gonna come out, a share from the different utilities.
So does that mean the Parks and Recs pays for over at the parks? Comes out of the Parks and Recs? I know it comes all out of the general fund.
Yeah,
but-
well, what we do is we take and we put it into the capital projects, and then we take out of all the different funds into the capital.
I guess I would like to see us update the hydro cameras and let it go at that for right now.
If you could consider, you know, the networking side, like the reason we broke it into two is to get that network, get the network set, because we're gonna have, you know, that coming back into the city hall, so that the police officers can review those, and we can review that. We're gonna use our existing system downstairs, you know, to help house that, equipment for the storage. And then you can build off of the different areas for cameras, you know, you know, that we see fit.
And that networking, that's the one, the Quotec or 8400?
Yes.
But the thing is too, you say, well, wait and do a couple cameras here and there. Well, what if they go obsolete? And then we gotta do the whole
Well,
networking over again.
No, the network is standalone. So you could plug and play with different cameras within the network. Am I saying that right? I believe I'm saying that right. Yeah, absolutely. So your network is basically your storage area and the bandwidth to get the pictures to the storage area. And the camera itself, I mean, the camera system is basically, you know, the eyes out there. So I mean, you could pick and choose what you wanted to do with that. You build off of that on a regular basis.
Cause yeah, I mean, you got 6 at Marion Park, you got 1 bathroom.
We got one bathroom, but the concession stand gets hammered on a regular basis. And that was a big request, is to catch the concession stand. So, you know, that was part of the reason why when you look at the number of cameras and the locations, you're trying to pick up areas because of those couple hotspots.
So which cameras would you be thinking that we wouldn't have to go with, Ray?
Well, I
You're
don't
saying 6 at Marion Park that we would need, and that's a total cost of $2,330 for those 6. You're saying that we kind of agreed that we need them down at the down at the hydro. You're kind of agreeing that we need it at Strawberry Lake. Those are 3, that's $1,112. You said that, you know, at the other park on Third Ward, I don't remember if you said you needed one there. That's $438. Where are you really gonna draw the line?
Well, I think,
You need them on the corner down here where we're gonna have the statue. I mean, pretty soon you're only gonna be saving $3,000 out of the 18,000. When you start saying which ones you need and which ones you don't think we need.
Well, I can tell you where we get hit. We get hit at Strawberry Lake, we get hit at Marion Park. We got hit at the hydro, and it's a requirement under FERC,
Yeah.
so we have to do that one. You know, the others were actually requests from staff, from the police department, from various staff. You know, so,
We do need safety for the kids, you know, like at Strawberry Lake, Marion Park. The compost site, you know, I'm there once a week, and I see they're keeping up well with it.
I think we can hold on the compost site until we start having issues out there. Once we start having issues, then I think we can throw one in.
What about City Hall? We've not had no issues here.
no, we haven't had an issue on the outside of the city. Again, there were some Homeland Security reasons why the police chief wanted us to include, you know, inside
what
and
about-
outside.
Yeah.
Is there something that they could go for, some kind of grant for that?
There might be.
So that way they could be covered on something else,
But
but still
our
plug
Homeland
into our
Security-
system?
But our Homeland Security grants run through the county.
Has there
Okay.
ever been
Emergency.
problems over at the fire hall?
No, we went through and looked at our facilities and we plugged this all out. And that's why I broke them down by facility, so that you can look at it and say, well, we don't wanna do this one now. You know, you can take the component out of it.
And we could plug in anytime that we want. With the,
I do
with
think
the
that you
system.
should have one at the well site, just because, again, the DEQ is gonna make some requirements, and we do have some dumping, problems out there, and we have the wellheads. So, you know, we throw that in, that can be part of the water department.
The water department doesn't have
Yeah,
any
water
money though.
department.
Well, I mean, even Marion Park, do you really need 6 of them out there? I mean, you can have one on each side of the bathroom and maybe each side of the concession or something.
And we can relook at how they're located. To get the angles that we were asking for, you know, in order to protect the facility, that was what was recommended for angles for those cameras.
Well, out of the 18,000, the ones that we thought, you know, that you were saying that you could cut out, I mean, you probably saved $4,800 on the ones you said that you could cut out. The compost site, the fire hall was $1,650, and the fire hall and the compost site were right around $1,650. So I mean, you're not cutting a lot off with the networking. With the networking and
No, what I recommended.
cameras, you're still at $20-some thousand.
I recommended that we put them in at Marion Park, and I recommended Strawberry Lake.
Okay,
I
that's
recommend the
9.
hydro and the well site. And in the corner park. The others, I'm not recommending.
Marion
They're-
Park, Strawberry Lake, what else did you say, Ray?
Marion Park, Strawberry Lake, the corner park, US 2 corner park, the hydro and the well site. 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12.
And you said the DDA will help us on the corner park there?
Corner park.
Yeah,
We could hold off on that to see what we get from
and
them.
you can hold off on the well site too, but I'm just saying long-term, you'll probably get a security request to have that monitored as well.
Now, the waste plant is still in here for $896. I thought
Yeah,
that,
that's on the outside, along the road. Because if there's gonna be an illegal entry, then it'll come along the road. So we put a camera in.
So the cameras in there now are just basically
They're on the inside,
watching how the sludge press is operating, all your equipment in there is operating.
right. Yeah, that's for his operational purposes.
So you're at 16,000 with those, with everything, with the system and the cameras.
Still at 16,000. Oh, and the system, you said.
That's with the system.
Okay.
That's with the system and the cameras. Safety, we need the safety. I mean, that's. Strawberry Lake, we get a lot of people coming in. That's why people come down there to walk the trails, because they feel safe.
But none of them are gonna be on the trails.
Well, you still have by the thing, if something were to happen, I mean, if you know there's some kind of issue, they can run, or they can try and get to there.
We'll be watching
Marion
basically.
Park, I agree, we need cameras out at Marion Park. I don't know if we need 6.
Well, maybe,
Falls, the hydro, I mean, there's no other grants or nothing out there that we could come up with that could help us out with that. The state or nothing couldn't do anything with this.
No, I haven't found any.
And you
And I
need
mean, I could
two,
go
you need
through-
2 at the well site?
Just to catch the locations we were talking about.
the well site's all fenced in, right, with a high fence with a gate, lock gate on it?
That somebody took out. You know, I mean,
I just think, $16,000 to $26,000 here and there adds up quick. and we don't have a lot of money to play with.
No, we don't, but safety is important.
Well, it comes down to priorities like everything else.
I'd like to see this price cut down a lot, maybe come up with a final
I think,
price.
yeah, maybe we should table it
Yeah.
and come back and look at it.
But that's why I put it per unit, so that we could take out those pieces. I mean, that's why I did it that way, because, you know, each unit has a cost. We have problems. There's no getting around that we don't have vandalism problems. We have vandalism problems. And it's not just, you know, I mean, the concession stand is, it's on the city property, but it's also the Little League, you know, and they've asked us to try and help with that issue.
Yeah, every year we get a door kicked in out there. We're
Yeah.
getting a lot of issues.
It's a
lot of
problem,
different
and
things.
every
People
year
breaking in.
we get Knights Kingdom that has vandalism on it. They're kicking stuff out at Knights Kingdom and in the bathrooms, and, you know, you just like to secure some of our assets, because I understand that it costs money, you know, to put this in place, but it also costs money to fix things. You know, it was a year I went up to the school and I had the figures. We spent over $10,000 fixing Strawberry Lake that year. Over 10,000. And I had a group up at the school that wanted to put in a skateboard park. And it's like, how can we fund some of these new things the kids want when we're paying out of the general fund to fix the vandalism? And just the painting alone, you know, is costly. So I think that, you know, the networking part was the first stage. And you could, you know, pare down, you know, the areas of interest. I mean, the hydro is going to get taken care of through the electric. I mean, we can defer the water until later. But like Strawberry Lake and Marion Park, those are two areas that get hit quite a bit.
Could we go down to Marion Park, start out with 4 and Strawberry Lake with 2?
I'm sure we could pare down the number of cameras and see if we can get, you know, the angles.
You know, that's the same with the pavilion up at Marion Park. We don't have anything by the pavilion, then maybe, you know, we got a lot of money invested in the pavilion.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what do? You got a brand new tennis court up there worth
Yeah.
quite a bit of money. I mean,
The vandalism, for whatever reason, they're hitting the bathrooms and the concession stand.
well, we didn't have the tennis court up there now, and now we're not gonna have any lighting by the tennis court for this year even. We got a brand new tennis court with brand new nets and no lighting. And it's the furthest thing away from the highway.
Well, I guess we're just trying to help come up with a possible solution.
I think the
to-
patrolling is the main answer. I know you're not gonna catch them all, but the patrolling is gonna mean a lot. And the tennis courts are what we have a lot of money. The tennis court is actually worth more than the concession stand and the bathroom together. And we don't have any cameras up there. And it's the furthest from the highway with no lighting.
Well, it's up to you guys, you know. You know, we've talked about this for at least 3 years, and I mean, we can defer it, but we can't defer the hydro, so we'll have to do something separate there, because we're under that order.
Well, let's get some type of motion here on, take them one at a time. The networking support for the City of Norway security camera system for the $8,400 not some odd dollars. Any more comments on that? Support for, against, whatever?
We don't need that for the hydro, for the permitting, right?
We can do a standalone.
I make a motion, we do not approve the networking for the Norway security camera for $8,454.25. We do not. do it.
I guess my thing on this is gonna be what we decide on the cameras. Support.
Mr. Pop?
No.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Babalani?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
No. Okay, next item, City of Norway Security Camera System.
The motion failed.
Now, that's the second one.
No, the first
So
one,
that
the motion-
automatically,
the motion failed,
it automatically disqualifies the next one then?
yeah.
Okay,
But the motion failed. I mean, just so you know, it's a tie
yeah,
motion.
it's a
It
tie
failed.
vote, yeah.
And the motion was to not do it. I think you guys we shouldn't do it and just move on and we'll just deal with it. I mean, we're a little frustrated, obviously staff's gonna be very frustrated because we're trying to, protect our assets, but
I don't have a problem with some of the cameras. I just would like to see it change and look at where the priorities are.
well,
I would like
Are
to,
you
I
saying
would,
they're all
I would like to
priority?
start
but
getting,
that's why we separated the networking.
I know, but I
You know,
can't
you have to
support the
put the-
system if I don't know what the motion's gonna be on the cameras.
I would like to see us get it started up with the system.
Well, like I said, the cameras can be broken down one at a time. I know that in the electric, with the hydro, the preference is to have the equipment up at City Hall, not at the hydro. The original unit system was set up at the hydro. And, that system just has failed, and so we have to completely, redo it. Yeah,
Well, we have to do something at the hydro, right?
yeah, right.
So then we have to do a different system.
Well, we'd have to do a standalone system for the hydro, because if you network that back to the City Hall, then you're basically doing what we're talking about in this network.
And we don't know what that would cost either.
It's part of that package. I'd have to go and find out where that portion of the project would be into the cost.
That's why I kinda wanted to table it. I guess I should've came in and asked you questions ahead of time.
Can I make a motion that we table this to the next meeting, 9 and 10?
Sure.
I'd like to make a motion that we table resolution, I got to mark 9 and 10 here, but City of Norway Security Camera Network, number 9, and City of Norway Security Camera System, number 10.
Support.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Babalani?
No.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Okay. Next item, a resolution, excuse me, a resolution allowing the use of golf carts on the streets of the City of Norway. Any comments? Now, at the last meeting, we had a couple people come in asking if they could, and I see the state has changed some rules and regulations, so it doesn't seem to be a problem. It's just a matter of us saying it's okay.
Yeah, I put together a resolution which outlined the requirements, which includes but is not limited to the following, which is in the resolution. And Grant, I don't know if you had any comments on how we put this together, but just tried to follow the state statute.
Right, and looking at this, this is not under the ORV statute, it's a separate issue. And that's one of the clarifications to make. I mean, the question before was on the ORV statute and looking at under the ORV statute itself with some of the requirements for the roll cages and the helmets, et cetera, and we dug a little deeper and found another option here for the golf carts if the council wishes to pursue it. But this resolution that Ray drafted up, I took a look at it as well, and we discussed it at length. It does reflect the Michigan Vehicle Code as it pertains to operation of a golf cart in a city. The first thing that has to be demonstrated is that we live in there's a population of 30,000 individuals, and I think we're just a hair under that, so we do qualify. And then under the statute itself, it lays out guidelines and requirements that are included within the resolution. So it is up to the city council's desires on if it wishes to adopt it or not. And the resolution, in essence, just reflects the Motor Vehicle Code 257.657A regarding operation of a golf cart on city streets. And it reflects a lot of the discussions we had about the ORV statute as well. Have to be 16 years of age to operate it. There are signal requirements, which I thought was, to note that was attached to your packet as well. Going back to when we were kids, learning about putting the arm up with motorcycle signals as well with left and right. You do have to comply with signal requirements. So if you are operating a golf cart in the city, on city streets, you have to do a signal when you are turning. Not operating on the highways, of course, using direct routes across any highway crossings as well. Not passing as well, maintaining a 50-mile-per-hour speed limit. Additionally, and importantly, not going on city sidewalks, going on city walking trails, that would still be prohibited. And additionally, cannot operate in the period 1/2 hour before sunset to 1/2 hour after sunrise. So the resolution Ray did up reflective of the request from some of our citizens was to allow golf cart usage on our city streets. And as you can see, because we qualify as being under 30,000 residents, we do have that option as a city to allow the operation of these carts on city streets if the council desires to allow such use.
If this does go through and we accept this, can we have the stipulations posted in City Hall and maybe have them posted on the TV network?
Sure.
So people ain't out there going, well, I didn't know that. It's going to be the citizens' responsibility if this ordinance is to go through to know the laws and regulations of the golf carts. And as I just said to Mr. Anderson, if this resolution does go through, it will be posted in City Hall and it will be put on the Norway City channel.
I think that the citizens, if they utilize the carts, they need to be responsible because this could be removed from an ordinance if it doesn't work out for the city. So, but I do think it's a good idea.
One thing I wanted to add, Grant mentioned about, some of the provisions. You have to be 16 years of age, and you must be licensed to operate a motor vehicle. So you have to have your driver's license as well as being 16. So I think that's going to be important. So if you have a suspended license, lose your license, whatever, you are not able to operate.
And more along those lines, just as a clarification, it is qualified as a motor vehicle under the Motor Vehicle Code if you're operating the vehicle on public streets. So all other motor vehicle requirements apply, meaning you have to comply with all other traffic codes and also be careful about driving from and to some of our restaurants and local establishments as well.
I believe a motion is in order unless we have more discussion.
I'll make a motion that resolution 2016-17 be approved.
Support.
Mr. Babalani?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes. And then maybe the daily dues could put something in there too, the regulations. So again, I'm gonna repeat, it is the citizens' responsibility to know the laws and regulations of driving golf carts on city streets.
Okay, next item, ordinance 420, an ordinance to amend ordinance number 386 of July 20th, 2009 to regulate and control the operation of off-road vehicles within the city of Norway. Comments?
This was, again, a request that came to those same meetings about, under the current ordinance, in section 4, paragraph 2F, it specifically states that ORVs are not to be driven from dusk till dawn. The request was, can we drive them, if you're coming back, can you drive them a little bit later than dusk to dawn or into night? And so in looking at the different options and talking with our police chief and talking with Grant, one thing we did with this ordinance is we said, well, let's use our noise ordinance, which is 10 p.m. To 7 a.m., which is the quiet time. So you can start up at 7 a.m. and you need to be off at 10 p.m. That mirrors the noise ordinance. So this ordinance 420 is basically just modifying section 4, paragraph 2F to include that language.
The only issue I have here, Ray, is I think I'd like to see it earlier, like 6 a.m. Would it have to be something special done, or just change it on here?
I don't know, Grant, I think you could put anything you want in the ordinance, whether or not it violates the noise ordinance.
It's always a judgment call by it's difficult already to enforce noise ordinance as it is. I mean, there's noise metering and it causes some issues already. Lee's an early riser and likes to get up early and maybe head out for a ride.
Well, I know there's
It's
some
late in the
people
summer
that,
at,
for deer
you know,
season,
yeah.
they
Right.
head out pretty early in the morning and they take their
Oh,
ATVs and,
yeah, that's true too.
Right.
some of them are on the road at 5 o'clock to get wherever they're going for 6,
And in the summer, it is lighter
Summer
before
is lighter.
7.
yeah.
It's totally up to council.
Well, I'd like to make a motion that we approve ordinance 420, but have it changed to 5 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Support.
And this can be changed at any time too, right, if we're having problems?
Yep.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Babalani?
Yes.
Okay, next item. License agreement with the Oak Crest Golf Course Clubhouse sign. Ray, you want to explain it, or
Yeah,
Mr. Plant?
we had a request from the golf club. They want to put up a sign, entrance sign out by the US 2 at Marion Park, similar to the location where the golf course sign is. Tom, I don't know, why don't you come on up and you can kind of explain what you want to do. But it's on city property is one reason it needs to come to council, and then there's some additional work that has to be done that's going to need a new pole, a separate pole, and so on
My
and so
name is
forth.
Tom Pont, and 59 Washington Avenue, Niagara, Wisconsin. But I'm here representing the board as president from Oak Crest Golf Club. Excuse me. I think you said US 2, Ray.
Or
Maybe I
US 8.
misheard.
US 8,
The sign that we're asking for would be on US 8. Had determined, I looked at the ordinance, Ray gave me the ordinance, sign ordinance to go through, and we had selected a site and selected a pole. The electric department had an issue with the pole. They don't really want a sign on that particular pole, and that's fine. And I told Ray, I says, he and I could maybe work on that, and selected a separate location with a separate pole. which has been one of our problems in operating the club. And will also be a little more explanation as to what we offer out there. So I guess what we're asking is council support to have that permit agreed to allow us to move forward with the sign placement. And I'd be more than happy to answer any questions.
Ray, is that sign gonna be in compliance with the zoning, thing that's coming from the planning commission?
Yeah, one of the stipulations is that it's a directional sign. It's not just a pure advertisement. And that's what we talked about at the meeting at some length, is to the difference. So it's like the dental sign, you know, that's a directional sign coming off the road as opposed to just a billboard that's out there advertising, you know, something. Those are classified differently, so it would qualify under that.
Well, I have no problem with it, because we've done this before, letting them put signs up, like Holy Spirit was the last example that I can remember. It just, we're talking $1,000 here. You are gonna pay for that?
I haven't talked to Ray about $1,000, so
What I gave them, Tom, was that, you know, we talked about, you know, you have a utility pole, and, you know, our guys putting it up, we ran the estimate on how much that actually costs. That's about $1,000. That's where that $1,000 comes in.
It's all listed right here, Tom, all broke down, man hours, trucks, et cetera.
what I would have to do, of course, is then take that's new information, take that back to our board. But I would still like to see approval for the sign in advance so that I can take that back to the board and say, we have our approval if we are willing to pick up that $1,000 bill.
Or if possible, you might be able to find somebody else to do all that work.
That would be if you did all the work.
Right.
Understood.
And check with Ray, he can give you the breakdown on that as far as the man hours and trucks go.
Any other questions?
Did anybody check with the state of Michigan? Because that sign is not gonna be actually on the property for the clubhouse. It's probably gonna be listed as a billboard. Did anybody check? Because it is gonna be advertising with an arrow for the golf course. You may wanna check that out.
I can, sure.
Because I'm thinking you're gonna be in violation.
What I looked at was sign size, Mike, and distances from
Yeah.
center line and so forth. Those
I do think it's a good idea, but I think you may have some problems with that unless you check it out.
Okay.
Yeah, it wouldn't hurt to make sure all your i's are dotted and t's crossed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So do we need a motion for that, Ray?
I'm not,
Unless you want to
I can't,
hold on it?
I can't sign that unless you authorize, you know, the ability to do that. It's on city property, for one thing. I don't know, Tom, if you want to find out with them about the cost, and then we come back? Or
I
if,
will certainly go to the board and I won't wait for a board meeting, we'll do that via email. I'll follow up on Mark's question, and I will get back to you as soon as possible.
I mean, you could,
I know that last time we did this, Lee, when I hired the electric department and I paid for my billboard to be put up, I shouldn't say put up, the holes to be drilled and the poles to be put in, I got a lot of flack because it was done by city crew, even though it was paid for, when there's supposedly other people that'll drill the holes and set the poles. I'm for the sign, but, you know, I just think that, you know, hopefully that's looked at too, because I think that, my opinion is that as long as somebody's paying for the labor, it shouldn't matter.
I think the only
But there was a
difference,
lot of
Mark,
flack.
I remember that too. I think the difference here, though, this is a city-owned piece of property. We're still own the golf course. and the clubhouse and everything.
But it's run by a separate,
Right. I understand where you're coming from. I think it's a little bit different, but I think it's a point well made as well.
I agree that as long as it's paid for, it shouldn't matter.
Right.
But there was a lot of resistance on the other side.
I remember hearing about some of that as well.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we table this till next meeting. Then we'll have all our information back as far as the sign being legal and they're willing to pay for it, et cetera.
Support.
Tom, is that gonna hold you guys up?
Well, it will, but it's necessary. I don't have a problem saying that. It is what it is, and we have to make sure that everything is right.
And you didn't get the paperwork on the $1,000 charge or anything? So you didn't have that information
I
ahead of time?
had not seen it before tonight, no.
Okay.
Mr. Pop,
Yes.
Mrs. Brew,
Yes?
Mr. Babalani,
Yes.
Mr. Menegini.
Yes. Okay, item number 14, CATV line brushing. Ray?
This particular area, if you're not familiar with it, it's at the corner of Chestnut and Railroad Avenue. There's a big depression. It's choked full of trees, and there's actually a fiber line that runs along the alley, runs through this area. And Jim Briner had asked that, since Asplin was doing work for the electric department, that they would be allowed to go in or be approved to go in and clean this area out, brush away from our cable lines. Gave us the price, their estimate is $7,800, and so it's up to council to provide, that's basically would be a change order for Asplin, but it's under the cable, so it would be separate through their department.
Well, I really don't see why we have to hire that out. I don't see why we can't do it. There's no high power lines involved. There's just the cable, right?
Cable.
I mean, it does look like one heck of a mess here, looking at the pictures. I didn't get a chance to get up there and actually walk in there and look at it any closer. But this overhead view, it's not a pretty picture. But I don't see why we can't get our boys in there and start pecking away at it and see what happens.
I agree.
I agree with Lee. I took a walk in there, actually. There is some pretty heavy-duty trees laying on there, but if they come in off of Railroad Avenue, it is city-owned property, the whole corner there where we're having the issue. And I think we can get the front end loader down off of Railroad Avenue and get in there and clean it up ourselves.
Is there any electrical lines going through there? I took a ride by, but
No, it's all cable.
Looks like a bowl of spaghetti hanging in there.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
It's pretty bad.
I think with summer being done, you know, the 125 being done, Labor Day being done, I think we'll have some extra time where our guys can go in and clean this out. And it's not electric, it's not the high power. And it's saving the city $7,800.
And being it's city property, I think there's a lot of stuff in there that can be cleaned out while they're there. Not just
Are
right
they
on top of the
mostly
lines.
box elders, Mark? I never
Yeah.
even noticed. Most of them weeds.
It's about, I think it's like a half a city block. Just the area off the end of 8th to the alley.
That's what would it be on the northeast corner? That's the Lundamo residence, isn't it? On that overhead
Yeah, it's
view?
right behind there.
Yeah, okay.
Straight off the end of 8th Avenue.
Need a motion?
I make a motion, we deny the request for the tree trimming of the $7,800 and handle it within house.
Support.
Mrs. Brew,
Yes.
Mr. Babalani,
Yes.
Mr. Menegini,
Yes.
Mr. Pop.
Yes.
Okay, next item. Got too many papers here. Hanbury Lake Fishing Pier, change order number 1.
Yeah, we, this is the project that, it's an Eagle Scout project, and Mr. Riefelt has been managing and working on. The dock was delivered the other day, the middle of last week, and we ran into a couple of snags down there. One of the large problems we had was that we weren't aware that there was a number of concrete blocks out away from the actual boat launch. When the wheels went down, it actually didn't take much. It sheared off one of the wheels, and they're not sure exactly how many are located out there. But the other problem we had was that the elevation was greater than what was anticipated. And so when we sat and we looked at what needed to be done to complete the project, it was pretty much clear that the dock needed to be changed from a standing pedestal dock to floating. And talking over with both Sawyer and with Bill from American Dock, the whole dock system is okay, they just need to put the pontoons underneath. And that's what the change order is to add the pontoons, which is $2,859.82. We get those pontoons added, then we can connect that to the end of the dock. In looking at the whole system, I think that it's going to be a better system for taking in and out and for long term.
How are they going to anchor that being it's floating? You're going to have to anchor it to the shoreline.
No, what you have is you have long poles that you're going to anchor it to the end of the existing dock. And then at the ends, you have poles with spuds on the end. And they basically keep it from going left to right. So,
Wouldn't the person that was going to be building the dock tour the site before they started to
Well-
build the dock?
we gave them the dimensions. We gave them the depths. So.
Did anybody ever figure out where these blocks came from? Is it back to the mining days, or?
I don't know. That was.
Might be kind of interesting if we could find out why they were there.
I know you can't see down that far. You look down, it's stained, you can't see a couple feet down, so. The money set aside on the Parks and Rec has the money to handle this project, and I know that this is something that a lot of people are looking forward to, having a fishing pier out there. So I just think it's a good addition. It's unfortunate, but when you look at the depths where the end of the dock's going to be, it probably gives us a little more flexibility as well.
Now, these will be pulled in every winter, right?
Yes.
And this is taking $3,000 out of the Parks and Recs that we just talked about, trying to stretch some camera money out of. Is that gonna?
Well, I mean, we've been, we have money in the Parks and Rec from timber sales, and so, we use it where the priorities are. So this would be one of those areas that we talked about at Hanbury that we set a priority on.
And we already got the dock.
Yeah, we have.
Well,
Gotta do
yeah.
something with it.
We did evaluate this. There was an option when he first came to us with the floats, but, we chose the pedestal because we thought with the depth, of what we thought was a depth, that it was basically $2,800 cheaper. So we said, well, that's perfect. We don't have to spend for the.
Right.
You didn't have a scuba diver go down there and check it out.
We didn't, but one of the guys went down to grab the wheel and they said it was pretty murky.
I make a motion to Hanbury Lake Fishing Pier change order number 1.
Support.
Mr. Babalani,
No.
Mr. Menegini,
Yes.
Mr. Pop,
Yes.
Mrs. Brew.
Yes.
But it says that we're also continuing fundraising on that. Where are they fundraising? I'm not
Well-
seeing anything out there.
Yeah, there's been a couple groups that have been doing some fundraising for it. Knights of Columbus has been a major contributor. The Lions has put in funds, and we're going to continue to fundraise for, for Hanbury Lake as a whole, plus the piers.
Next item, approval of the Sturgeon Falls Hydro Unit Number 3, Governor Shaft Repair.
Late last week, I mean, this was a last-minute addition to the agenda. We got a call that one of the problems, they realized one of the problems on unit number 3 was that there needed to be some work done on the shaft, which included milling the two new keyways. Their keyway was having a problem and it was slipping. That was part of our gate problem. So when they got down in there and actually started working on the gates, they realized that we needed some shop work from FMR to rework these keyways. So we quickly got a price from FMR to do that shop work, which is $7,555. Then the next item is a change order for Myron to work on that, but this particular one is just for the shop work.
Well, I'm glad they caught it, because if the keyway was bad, it would have ruined the shaft.
Yeah, that's
So
part of the
I-
problem we had.
I think we got to do it.
Yeah,
If
there's
it's
no
a
question
no-brainer.
about it. We have to do it. But technical question here, Ray. The two new keyways, do you know if they're going to be better keyways than the old ones that were in there?
Well, they're gonna
or-
fit. The other ones are worn.
I know they're war, but I mean,
Yeah.
what caused the wearing? Are these new keys going to be a little tougher, or is it basically going to be the same type of material?
I think it's the same type of material. I think what we have is, over time, and I don't know how
Just-
old those keyways
yeah.
are. Over time, you're gonna have this. Whenever we do the maintenance, we open something up, we're gonna find something. One of the questions we should have moving forward, we put it back in place and we get it operating. One of the questions you have is, number one is, do you reevaluate your material type and, find out how old those keyways really were.
Well, I know.
But you don't always want to have something so rigid, though, because then you break something. that's-
Right. I know you have to have something soft enough where
Right.
that'll give before something else does.
Right.
Any other questions, comments? Need a motion?
I make a motion, we approve FMR in the amount of $7,555 to repair the shaft on unit number 3, not to exceed.
Support.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Babalani?
Yes.
Okay, then as I mentioned, there's a change order number 1 from Myron for $3,910. That's basically to do the work on the keyways.
I make a motion for Sturgeon River Falls Hydro Unit Number 3 change order in the amount of, $3,910, not to exceed that amount.
Support.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Babalani?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes. Well, that concludes all our items. Anybody from the audience wish to address the council on any item of interest shall do so now. State your name and address for the record, and please speak into the mic.
Bill Aslan, 507 2nd Avenue, Norway. Is the city going to take out dead trees this year that are on the boulevard?
That's normally a winter project for us. That's
Okay,
would be
because
the
that one
plan.
on 208, one branch came off already, which I took care of, but if I'm not here, it's up to you people. It's not mine, that's what I was told, so, okay?
What?
Just wanted to ask.
208 what?
208 Main, that's the only tree on it. It's on the boulevard. I wanted to take it out myself a few years ago, but I wasn't allowed to. So now I'll have to leave it up to you people. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Thanks, Bill. Hey, council comments. Scott?
Now that Highway 8's done, I think it looks nice. You know, going through town, it's really nice going out to Marion Park. They did an excellent job on that. It didn't take them too long. Looking forward to see when our streets get done, you know, Curry Road and everything else. Get that project underway. I did happen to see the tennis courts out there. I wasn't a fan about the new tennis courts, but it does look really nice up there. It really does. And another thing is Norway football is doing pretty good. Hope everyone's out there supporting us. That's about it.
I have
Candy?
no comments.
No comments? Mark?
I agree with Scott. Highway 8 looks really nice. I'd like to mention just a little something on the landfill problem or proposal that they're putting in off of Quinnipiac, off of Kimberly Road. It's in our backyard. If you have any concerns, you need to address the county because the county is going to be making the first step in the process of redoing permitting. So you need to address it with the county first. I think it's very important. It's in our backyard. That's all I have.
I agree with you 100%, Mark. The county's well aware of it. The county board is well aware of it. The only question on US 8, it's beautiful, but have we been having speeding issues on it?
Not that I'm aware of.
Oh, okay. Make all the residents down there happy then. Mary, anything to say?
Nothing.
Trish? Ray?
I just want to thank everybody that worked on the 125, especially Darrell with his leadership, I'm president of the Friends, and I was on the committee, but to watch the amount of work that group did, and then at the end, I want to thank Trish because she did a ton of work that last month. When I get involved in something, she tends to get sucked into it. So I appreciate her a lot for that. But volunteers-wise, we had a lot of volunteers come in the end. So thank everybody who helped bring in volunteers and volunteer themselves. So it was just, it made it all worthwhile. That's all I have.
Same goes for me. I didn't forget you, Grant. Any comments?
Just to echo Ray's comments, I wanted to thank Darrell as well for acting as the president of the Friends of Norway. The other board members, if I forget anybody, I wanted to also recognize Mr. Steve Ortman, Tony Adams, Brett By, Mary Mason, Sue Bolden, Joe Tinty, and Ray were the other committee members that sat on that board. And Jacqueline Laker and Scott Sternhagen also assisted with both some technical issues and our accounting issues. So I wanted to thank those folks. And again, just to reiterate Ray's comments and the council's comments, I think it really was a showcase for the city of Norway. It really did bring out the community. There was a lot of community support, community spirit. A lot of the local churches, a lot of local organizations got involved. And I really think it was a nice showcase that I still hear up in my office once in a while. I hear a lot of folks still talk about what a great event it was and how many people came into town. And we hear a lot about the questions on whether it's happening again. And again, look forward to seeing some folks take the reins and if they choose to go down that road, going ahead and doing it. So again, thank you for the Friends of Norway and the donation back as well. Thank you.
Well, we have no executive session tonight. Need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Support.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes?
Mr. Babalani?
Yes.
Mr. Menehidi?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.